I grew up in a world in the UK of what's called pounds, shillings, and pence. That's before decimal, where you may, when I was a child, have what was called a TSB savings account and a few government premium bonds, but in no way were you told about finance. And sadly, that continued throughout my school years. So I started work totally naive about bank accounts, how money works, cash flow, credit, and so on. I had to become self-taught. And I think that set me back many years because I probably learned the wrong things. As a father and a grandfather, I totally admire my guest today, who is harnessing the power of technology with a free app to teach financial literacy to children. He's the founder of Kiddie Kredit. Welcome, Evan Leaphart.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm just a bit jealous of though you're in Miami today and I'm in cold Northeast England. But anyways, let's warm up the world together as we chat about Kiddie Kredit. Let's go straight in. What is Kiddie Kredit? How does it do and why does it work?
So Kiddie Kredit in short is a chore or activity tracking tool that teaches kids about credit. How do you do that? We ask that you may ask. The reason we do that is basically the better a kid does their chores or their activities, the better their quote unquote credit score, right? So think of a missed chore like a missed payment. The longer you've had a chore, it's like the longer you've had a credit card, so on and so forth. So when it comes to credit calculations, I know the way that you start is different in different countries, but essentially the premise is the same. It's basically saying you're given you're given a line of credit, you're given a mortgage, you're given a car note, and how you manage that over time will determine what your score is. So we want to fundamentally teach how those different components are calculated at an early age. So it starts from ages 4. In our public beta version, which is out now, just is intended for ages 4 to 12. But in our upcoming version, we're scaling that out further. So it's going to go from 4 to 17.
Right, excellent. Did you say 4 to 17? I think 70 should be the answer as well. If I see some, yeah. Look, I know you have a long-standing passion for teaching financial education, but what was the spark behind that caused you to create Kiddie Kredit? Why did you think it was needed?
So I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always built businesses from my own pocket. And it's not that I always wanted to, it was just whenever I tried to apply for a business loan or line of credit, I wasn't able to get it, right? Like, was denied because of my score. I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s. And I realized that I'm not the only person out here with a good business idea and just doesn't have the funds to fully execute on it. But if we taught credit at a younger age, we'd be able to have people with great business ideas get access to that first loan or line of credit to be able to start the projects of their own.
Yeah.
And then, that's focusing on the individual, but focusing on society as a whole. If we had more entrepreneurs that were able to execute upon their ideas, I just think its benefit on society would be tremendous. So I really, I want to teach kids about credit, but I take it's very focused towards the entrepreneur. So that's essentially why we did it.
Yeah. And just as an aside, and not on our question list here, but as an aside, Evan, it just dawned on me, as I said, I was set back a lot by not knowing about money and having to learn about money. But I was also, I hate to use the word conned, but deceived a lot in my early ideas about money. And I found that particularly in the musicians I've worked with, came up with hits and everything, and everybody stole it from because they had no idea about money. And if doing what you're doing, they'll have got that early learning, which is brilliant. Now, in my opening piece, I said I grew up, as I say, totally naive about money and finance. It wasn't my parents' fault, but I did blame school. After all, learning about money would have been better education than, say, the Latin classes I had to endure. Do you think schools could help in bringing equality to financial learning so all socioeconomic classes have access to great learning?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say it's not something that should be like one class, right? Like, you might not remember the year you read Shakespeare, right? But like,
Yeah.
if you but there's fundamental things throughout the beginning that you learn. So you learned how to write an essay and format. So it's like, in terms of financial literacy, it's like, how can we just graduate the topic over time versus it just being something that's kind of a fly-by-night course. So that's why we're trying to tackle it from an early age. So it's just something that's habitually there. And we feel that habit forming is the same thing as payment history. There's a direct correlation in terms of solid habits and solid foundational habits.
Yeah.
And one thing that we try to do too is we're always focused on saying, hey, we want to be seen as the thought leaders in teaching credit, and not necessarily an overarching topic of finance, because then it can get diluted. And then all of a sudden, now you're talking about savings and investing again, and then credit's still a foreign topic. So we're like, we'll tap into partners around saving and investing, but we want to really, really effectively teach credit to the youth.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, I like the fact that Kiddie Kredit is a mobile chore or core, or however you call it, tracking app. So you're not only teaching finance, but also the use of digital and playing your part in the home. Just remind people again about the age groups that can use Kiddie Kredit, and how you're planning for the development as the child ages.
Yep. So we're taking a kid on 3 different learning tracks, right? So there's the cub phase, which is from 4 to 7, pandas from 8 to 12, and then giant pandas from 13 to 17. So when you get into the teen phase, that's more real world components. You know, you have your own payment mechanisms, cards, accounts, whatever the case may be. 8 to 12, we start to introduce virtual currency components, having your own PIN so you can understand the privacy when it comes to protecting your credit, your social, your score and everything. And then 4 to 7 is a little more younger in scope. So it's just focusing on foundational character building things, honesty, reliability. Can I count on you? I'm giving you this because I believe that you'll give me this back. So that's how we take it. And then we're building out, our goal is to have over 200 hours of programming that's educating in these 3 different age groups over the course of next year. So.
Wow, that's a huge amount of programming. I know myself. And can the child test themselves as they progress, or?
That's one of the components, right? So you'll be able to, so in the app, you get your own internal virtual currency, right? Mm-hmm. And then that can be used for items monetary or non-monetary. Just, it totally depends on the parent or the admin. But you can do things along the way where you can take courses, watch videos to be able to increase your overall credit score or earn additional virtual currency. So that's all going to be stuff that's available in our upcoming version.
Okay. Now, just before we move on to our next question, I just wanted to remind viewers to make certain they've taken down the details of your URL that's on the screen behind me. Evan, what top 3 things do you think every child needs to learn about finance?
First, that it doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah, you know? I learned that. Yeah.
Right. But no, I would just say to understand the value of $1. Maybe as the parent, you just allow them to pay a bill. So if they think $20 is a lot, just let them pay the electricity bill. And then when they see that's a couple hundred, they're like, oh, we're just paying this just for the lights. This is crazy. So that'll teach them, having them do a budget, right, for like what they want. I always say the story, it's kind of funny, but when I was a kid, when Toys R Us was a thing, we used to get this big Toys R Us book that would come in the mail. It was like around like Thanksgiving time. And I would cut out everything that I thought I wanted. And I'd cut it and I'd say, hey, Aunt, I want this. Hey, Uncle, I want this. And I would send it to who I thought could afford what, right? So like the video game system might go to my godmother. The socks that are cool might go to the auntie or something. So I always I instinctively kind of knew where everybody's affordability level was. I was that kid. But sorry, I went on a tangent there. So I would say 3 things would be just learning a budget, the value of money, and patience, So as kids, we want everything right now. So if you can just say, hey, I worked for this, like that'll go a long way. Over time.
Yeah. I know it's hard for people to resist, because they're bombarded with TV adverts, aren't they? Buy this, and it's ever more expensive. I mean, you obviously have a purpose and a vision with Kiddie Kredit. How will you judge when you're achieving your purpose?
When the majority of kids that are 17, about to be 18, don't just understand what a credit score is, they understand how it's calculated. And then we start to reduce the amount of people that fall into bad debt, right? Like they're not paying 20% APR for a car, like I've done, just insane things. And just systemically, we start to see the numbers change, right? Like underserved, underrepresented communities in America just statistically been shown to the numbers exhibit a lot of bias, right? And then so you can see direct correlations between race and class and accessibility, which credit is a major roadblock on. So if we can really we start to see those numbers shift, and the case study shows us a direct correlation of kids using and on a large scale. I don't want to pin myself to a number, and I say 1 million, and then we've affected the whole country, right? Yeah. But it on a large scale, like really seeing credit education be a thing and starting it early. So it's not you turn 18 and you know nothing about it. It's almost like, yo, you don't know about credit, and the kid's 15. If we're at that moment, we've done something.
Excellent. So I'm so chuffed for you. How do you see your whole concept of Kiddie Kredit developing using your skills in technology? Will AI and machine learning or other developments start to play a part?
So we do offer pre-populated chores, which is the very base level of AI, right? But we want the onboarding experience to use a little bit of AI to make it easier for the parent that just says, hey, look, I want to teach my kids credit, but we don't even do chores in the house. Like I don't know anything about credit. So we want it to be a customized experience that can walk through a parent, that can walk through an after school program looking to use it for their students, a teacher looking to use it for their students, a camp looking to use it for the attendees of the camp. So the majority of the AI would be around the onboarding and just being able to handle like on a massive scale the different types of uses of our app.
I just think it's excellent, and all 4 grandchildren are being told by my wife, get on with it. Evan, I like to give all my guests 3 wishes. If I were to give you 3 wishes for the understanding of the need to educate children in finance, what would those 3 wishes be?
One would be, from this point forward, no kid 17 turning 18 to have a credit score less than 660. Right now, this is, mind you, this is on the scale, and I'm basing off of the U.S., which is from 300 to 850. But just leveling the playing field. Yeah. No 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old that's really trying to build a future should be denied from making a responsible decision, right? Like it's there should be more things that are used to help instead of roadblocks, especially if you're really just starting out. So I think that's why before the stuff starts to count against you at 18, it's important to teach early. So like if we really just had this level playing field of access, that's really what this project's about. Kiddie Kredit is, yes, we're trying to teach credit, but why we're trying to do it is because credit is a tool that can be leveraged to generate wealth. And it's one of the few things we have in our country that could lead to economic equality. So I guess that's 2. And then thirdly, would have this be the most fun, engaging app to where kids are using Kiddie Kredit over Roblox or Fortnite. Love those games too, by the way. So no disrespect, but yes, like where they would actually they want to just rush home and be on and do things on Kiddie Kredit, learn about lessons. So it's our goal to make it as engaging as possible for the kids, and then as simple as possible for the parents. So it's not a chore for them to use it.
Evan, I wish all my guests success, but I wish you triple success. Evan Leaphart from Kiddie Kredit, thank you very much indeed for a very stimulating interview.
Thank you. I appreciate you.